My name is Zainabu Abihanifa Godoro.
So tell me a bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? How many siblings did you have? How was life for you as a child?
I grew up in Thika, Kiambu County. I'm a third born among four siblings. My brother died when he was young, so now we are three. My father also passed away. May his soul rest in peace. My mom is still alive. She still lives in Thika.
So you grew up in Thika?
Yes, I grew up in Thika.
And so how did you come to the city? What is it? What is the story of Zainab?
Most of my family members, they live in Nairobi. So actually when we were young, we always used to visit like our aunties and our cousins. So after school, I came to college. I never got good grades to go to university, but I could go for a vocational college and enrolled in Nairobi. That is how I came about to live in Nairobi.
So when was that? Around what time?
This is how many? Around 1999.
Oh, it's a long time ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. 1 year after a bomb blast.
Yes.
Wow. And what was life like for you here in the city? And who were you living with?
I was living with my auntie by then because I was commuting from her place to college on and off. That was in 1999. Then I think I stayed with her for like an year. Then I did my exams. After my exams, around 2001, I got my first job. I worked as a hotelier. So when I got my first job, even without getting my first pay, I moved out with my friend in Nairobi West. That's how I came now to start living on my own.
And how old were you around that time?
I was around 20.
Wow.
20? Yeah, around 20 years.
Very independent.
Yes.
And when did you start your own family?
My own family. It took time. My firstborn, I gave birth to him in 2006. So, 2006, yes. Then my secondborn was born 2008. Then my thirdborn was born in 2012. Yes.
And actually, let's take one step back.
Yes.
To you, what is a family? How would you define family?
Interesting. Family. What's a family to me? Family is actually, for me, the way I can describe a family. I don't think it's like it has to be your extended or people who are blood related to you. Friends can also become family. I think family mostly are people who are there for you in your everyday life. They can either be you're related by blood, your colleagues that become friends and then you become family. It can be just friends, neighbors. That is how I associate family. Yes.
And is this from your experience, growing up or kind of living in the city and defining things for yourself, or is it where do these values come from?
These values come from my grandmother. We used to live with her in Bakwe at home in Thika. My grandmother accommodated everyone. People would come from all calibers of life, and because our house is just next to the mosque. I'm a Muslim. Our house is just next to the mosque, and so she opened our house to everyone. So I think that's how I learned that family is not the only people who are bridged to you by blood, but anyone who comes and you can be able to accommodate, be associated with, do so many things along together. That's family.
Who would you say are the members of your family?
Our members of the family, those people who are really close to me, know my everyday struggles, know my everyday achievements, who keep tabs with me. I'd call them family, because there are also people who are your family, your blood related, but they really don't care about you. You only meet with them maybe during weddings or funerals. that's when that you realize, oh, this is my family. Yes.
Because the typical definition of family is either like a nuclear family, so father, mother, and children,
Yes.
or your extended family, so your grandparents, your
Yes.
cousins, your aunties and uncles and things like that. So for you, that definition doesn't describe how you see things.
Yeah, and for what I have undergone, for me that doesn't like define to be family.
Okay, fair enough. So, does religion play any role in how you live your life?
Yes, it does.
How so?
Can I say yes it does and yes it doesn't?
Absolutely.
Why I'd say yes it does, because you need to have faith in whatever that you do. And so for me, my religion is what like guides me. But again, most of my family members that I've described are also not like, they don't come from my religion. Most of my friends are Christians. I also have friends who don't like believe in God, or atheists like that. And I also have family members who are Muslim. So yes, I believe in my religion, but also when it comes to family, I don't like mixing religion with family. Yeah.
And for your own personal life, has religion played any role in, how maybe you dress, where you build your home, how you go about your day? Is it defining in any way?
When it comes to dressing, actually most people don't think I'm a Muslim, because I don't dress like Muslims. It's called conservative, just like everyone else. But when it comes to my religion, I'm very strict. I pray 5 times a day. I fast. I do everything what my religion asks me to do, but I don't dress like a Muslim. But I dress appropriately.
Well, anyway, it's a personal choice, so
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with that. It's about the faith in
The
your
faith,
heart.
yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about your household. Who do you currently live with, and how do you define the tasks inside your house?
I'm a single mother. I've separated from my husband for now 5 years. I've filed for divorce, so it's still in the process. I live with my 3 children, and currently I'm fighting for custody of the boys. 5 years ago is when I moved out from my matrimonial home and began living alone. I actually left my kids with my ex-husband. Then he couldn't raise them. Then he took them to my mom, and I went to pick them up and I started life with them. Yeah.
So your household is...
It's me and my 3 kids.
And it feels like it's also like your refuge. It's a space you created for the two,
Yes.
for you and your children.
Yes.
And so in this household that you've created for yourself, how do you operate things? Are you the chief decision maker? Are you the breadwinner? How do you run your household?
I'm the one who makes all the decisions. I am the sole breadwinner. But I divide tasks amongst ourselves. We sit down and discuss with my kids. My firstborn turned 14, so now he's a teenager. So I am kind of delegating some of the duties to him. Yes. But my secondborn, he's in boarding. My firstborn is in boarding school. So most of the time, he's not at home. So my secondborn son also takes care of his siblings. What I've delegated for him is household chores like washing dishes. Thanks due to COVID now, they're learning how to cook. So they cook in turns.
How does your family meet its financial needs?
I currently, I am not working currently because of COVID. But I do small businesses, like I sell eggs nowadays and also sell potatoes. The little income that I get from there is what now sustains us, though it's a really big struggle because I have 3 kids, and thank God, again, due to COVID now, we're not paying school fees, so at least that burden has gone down. The only big burden that now I'm really struggling and I'm lagging behind is rent. Before I would be able to pay my rent and also pay school fees in partially, but not small in bits. But at the moment, things are not very well. But I still thank God we are alive, we are able to eat, and I'm able to take care of the kids, and they are healthy.
Do you get support from your relatives?
Yes, my relatives are really very supportive. They understand what I go through, and they're always there for me.
Do you also find that you take care of other relatives, or is it how does that work?
I actually support relatives and non-relatives. I believe, like, just the way that you asked me, my religion says you have to give. And I believe when you have to give, is not exactly like what you really like. Not, you don't just have to give money or anything. You assist where you think you're able. I'm that kind of an outgoing person, whereby I go out of my way and even help more people than sometimes even what I have I give out.
So who leads the tasks of raising your children? Is this something you do by yourself, or does your ex-husband participate?
It's me. My ex-husband, I actually like forced him to like participate, but he's not really like keen. Actually, I would say like I'm the one who really takes care of the kids, because the number of times that he's had them like visit him, it always ended up like I'm going back to like square one.
Why is that?
Because he's an alcoholic, and most of the time when they go to visit him, he likes take them to the bars and drinks with them. Yes. Wow. He would take them out as if they are going for an outing, but he will take them a place where he can be able to access alcohol. And you see, he abuses alcohol, so it kind of sometimes affects the kids. And then when he takes alcohol, I think he gives negative vibe to the kids.
Okay. Obviously, you had reasons why you left your marriage, and it maybe perhaps has shaped how you raise your children. What are the things that you've learned now as a single mother, and the things that your children need, and what they need to learn to build their own families?
Can I go back and like explain why people really don't understand why I left my marriage? Of course, when I met my husband, it was for life. But in between, things change. He was drinking. I also drink. But for him, alcohol took charge. And he ended up losing jobs, not taking care of us, and also not really like being a role model to the kid, because he would come home like because of alcohol, he would come home drunk. But again, also, you see, he's still the father of the kids. There's no way I can change that. And I always, you always have that faith that with time things will change. With time he will change, he'll stop drinking. But in my aspect, he never like changed. He continued drinking. And you see, like, I'm a Muslim, and I have been raised the Swahili way, whereby you're told to vumilia and usitoe siri ya nyumba yako like outside. That simply means you don't disclose your problems to other people. So for 9 years, I kept it inside. Though my family members used to see him drinking, but they per se didn't know that it was a problem. Until when I went to them and explained to them that this guy is drinking a lot and he's abusive, he's beating me up. When I first told them, they never believed. I am a very talkative person. Niko na kiherehere mingi. Kiherehere is I know a lot, I talk a lot. I am maybe thick-headed or something like that. But I am in other words,
headstrong.
I am headstrong, and I'm a very outgoing person.
Yeah.
So when you look at me and when you look at my ex-husband and you look at me, you'd always say I am the one who is always on the wrong. So they actually supported, my family members actually supported my husband over me. They actually never believed me.
Wow.
Until that day when we sat down, both family members, and they kept on telling me, you see, your husband is saying he's going to change, he'll stop beating you up, it's a mistake that he did. Deep down, I knew it was not, he hadn't done it, like that was not the first time. It was only the first time because they've come to hear it like then. So I knew if I go back, that will be the biggest mistake of my life. So I refused. I actually totally refused. And for the first time in my life, my brother-in-law told them, this is my brother and this is the wife. When they first met, there were two of them. So we can never like force her to go back. She's aware of the shoes and she knows where it hurts most. So let's give her time. Because you can see she's really crying and she's saying no. Because I used to cry. I cried that day my heart out. I told them, no, me, I'm going back. Me, I'm going back. Whatever you tell me, I am not going back. Even if you guys are not going to support me, I will go out on my own and I'll make it.
And that was now 5 years ago.
No, that was not 5. It was like, yes, like, was it 5? No, 6 years ago. So they really talked at the beginning, yeah, at the beginning of the separation. So after some time, 2-3 weeks, my relatives came with a plan. They said they'll take him to a rehab. And they told me, just go back. I told them I'll only go back because I had left my kids. All this process, the separation and everything, I ran away and I left my kids. In my mind, then, I was like, I'm young. And I think I'm still fertile, that even if I get another man, I would be able to conceive the kids. And I didn't have a job. So I kept, and I didn't have the support of my family. And so I was like, where am I taking these kids? How will I survive with them? I first have to go out there and make my own life. And then I can be able to now go and support them.
Yeah.
All along, all this time that I was married, everyone thought that the man was the one who was doing, in our African in our African perspective, we always think that the man is the head of the house. But I think things have changed, that nowadays we co-parent, not even co-parent, we share our roles in the house. But in my marriage, it was not like that. It's like I'm in marriage and I want it to work, but I'm the one who's bringing in the big chunk. And it's not like this man was not working. This man was working and he was getting a lot of money. But he's older than me, so probably he had seen life better than me, and he knew how to maneuver and like blind me. He had like blinded me, so I couldn't see forward. But for me, I was there to make it work forever till death do us part. But now the fighting really increased, and I was not at peace in my home, and I was not myself. Then I'd even stopped reaching out or talk. I didn't even have friends. I stopped seeing my friends. I stopped seeing my relatives. I was in my own cocoon of marriage. And it was not a good thing. And it was never a good feeling. And I do want my kids to see me suffer like that. And also do want my kids to grow knowing that dad used to beat daddy. Oh no, dad used to beat mommy. I wanted them, I preferred them to know that they lived with daddy and mommy left. So that's why I left my marriage.
You talked about earlier that the idea of separation or divorce, or talking about, the idea of talking about problems within a marriage, one was not accepted or was not welcome. Do you think that is that's what kept you in the marriage for the 9 years. And what are your thoughts on that kind of external pressure?
Well, we see that when you see when you look at other people, we are always told in mostly African community, women are always taught that a man is the head of the house, so whatever he says you have to follow, and that you have to be under him. And whatever happens in your marriage, it's your secret. You just have to work it out, both of you. But again, when you're in that marriage, when you sit down and you like try to talk it out and solve your problems, it never worked out for me. Me personally, it never worked out. Because I even tried. Funny enough, my in-laws knew more of my problems than my own relatives. And for me to bring on board my relatives is because I was tired. And these were his people. And of course, they'll always support him. So I thought if I bring my people would sit down, and of course would sit both families and like put sense into my husband for him to stop. But it never stopped. It only stopped maybe for a week or 2 weeks. Then when he goes for his drinking spree, when he comes back, that's it.
Wow, that's so unfortunate.
Yes.
So now you have you've built a life for yourself, and here you are 5 years later. Do you still believe in the concept of marriage?
If you asked me that question 5 years ago, I would tell you no. But now, yes. Now I can tell you I still believe in the institution of marriage, and I know it is workable, but it is workable when you get into a relationship and do the process of... There's a process for you to get into marriage. Like, you have to date. You have to get to really know this person. And then you must have, like... You have to know what you want what you want for yourself. First, it has to be yourself. Then that other person, what does he want for himself? And I believe what he wants for himself and what you want, if you put it on the table and you look at it like this, it's something that you can be able to work it out.
Is this something that you've learned as a matter of your experience in life, or do you think also it's kind of like the modern way of
It's part of the modern way of relationship and what I have experienced myself. Because right now, of course, there's so many people who have approached me. And yes, I'm in the dating process at the moment. And I feel more comfortable with now dating and then getting to know this person well than when I look back with how I did it before. It is much better now than before. And now I believe in that institution, that this is what I want, and I still believe in the institution of marriage.
So at what age were you seeing your cousins, your relatives, or people around you getting married? What was the typical age?
Around 20, from 25 and above, 25 to 30 there. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you're Muslim.
Yeah.
Is the idea of multiple partners something that is accepted? And have you seen that within your family?
Funny enough, I'm a Muslim. And in my family, it's only my one uncle who has married several wives, but he has not like done it the way it's usually like done it. You see, in Islam, a man is allowed to have 4 wives. And if you have all these 4 wives at the same time, the first wife has to give consent for you to marry the second one. And the same case goes to the second and to the third. In our family, my like nuclear family, it's only one of my uncle who has married several wives, but he's married them after he's divorced the first one. They all are not like, you see, there you're allowed 4 wives. They're not. They don't all
so he has like multiple ex-wives.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that's different, like than having 4 wives at a go.
Yeah.
Yes, or 2 wives at a go.
You're a single parent and your ex-husband is not showing up, and is that the only person who's available to raise your children, or are you able to? Do you have a community around you that's assisting you? Do they? What about your mother? Is she involved in raising your children?
My mother is 100% involved. My aunties are also 100% involved. My cousins are also 100% involved. With time, They came to realize that my husband was on the wrong, and that because I just went head on and raised my kids on my own, despite the sufferings, the many places that I've moved from A to Z. My family realized that I was on the right and I really need their support, and they've given me that support. I really appreciate that.
What are your thoughts on family planning and the methods that are available right now in the world? Is that something you apply in your own, as you are building your own family?
It's very important to have family planning. I would say it's not unfortunate, because I got both my last born and my second born when I was still on a family planning method.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I'd actually, right now through experience, I would advocate for family planning, because times are tough. And you really need to give your child the best. And if you have more kids, and you're a single parent, you tend to even forget yourself and try and concentrate on your kids, which also makes you be stressful, because it's most of the time you're unable to take care of your kids. Yeah. So, but I'd really advocate for family planning. It is very important to be able to raise kids that you can be able to take care of them. Yeah. My children are in the 844 system. Even when I was married, they were still doing the 844 system, and they were in a private school. But after the separation, I actually left my kids with the dad. And as I said earlier, my relative, African perspective thinks the husband is the head of the house. I'm the one who used to pay the school fees for my kids. So it was a bad thing, and then it ended up to be a good thing, because you see, sometimes you have to let people see for themselves what is really kind of happening in that family institution. When I kept on saying I'm the one who does everything, because now I used to do catering, and all the money that I used to get, and with the support of my still relatives, even when I was married, my relatives were still supportive. I would pay the school fees, and he would not bring anything in the house. So every now and then people used to know, because he was a journalist, so he was getting money and everything. So everyone used to know he's the head of the house. And being now the silent partner there, and being a woman, people never used to know that I was doing everything. So when I ran away, I said, I have had enough, and now I'll let the world know what I've been going through. And by that is not like talking to everyone, telling everyone what I have been through. Just let nature take its course. And thank God it happened. I stopped paying the school. No, at first I felt so bad, because my kids were not going to school. So I went and paid it for each child. I paid half the school fees. Then they went to school. Then they were again chased away. Then I said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to enable him. He's a man. He says he works. Let him not spend his money on his kids. Unfortunately, he never did that. He let my kids stay at home for a whole term. Then I was still struggling, because I'd left his house, and I didn't have the support of my relatives. Funny enough, when I went to my relatives and told them about my separation and that I'm not going back to that house, they told me the moment I leave that house, I'm on my own. Yes. And I was like, where was I gonna go? I didn't have anywhere else to go. And I said, since they supported him, and they really, my family really supported my husband. They realized he's a sick person. He's an alcoholic. They took him to a rehab. He underwent all the program. When he was in rehab, I went back to my matrimonial home and stayed with the kids, took care of them for all those 3 months without anyone's assistance, because now my relatives were helping him. So I had to find a way how to raise my kids, feed them, and then still I was jobless. But thank God I still managed. Now the day that he finished his program, my relatives were not there, so I had to go and pick him up. And you can imagine that, that situation that you're not with someone, you stepped in, came and stayed with the kids. The same day I went and picked him up from the rehab and brought him home, is the same day that he relapsed and went and drank. And when he came back, he beat me so hard that he even broke my tooth.
Wow.
Thank God the day that we had that fight, the following day we had a family meeting, and I just had to look for a way to run away. And it was so bad that he almost stabbed me with the scissors. And that's when I realized, actually my daughter is the one who saved my life. She walked into the room when he almost stabbed me, and he just shook his head, picked her up and threw her out the house and locked the door. Then I think that's when he came into his senses that, whoa, I almost stabbed this woman. Then he stormed out. The moment he stormed out, he had already like torn my clothes. So I changed my top and took the torn top and the scissors because I was bleeding a little bit, and I took off the heels and I ran away. What actually saved him, because I couldn't run that fast, he's a man and he's a fast runner, I got into a boda and I told the boda guy, please take me straight to the police station. I reported, I put a statement, and they told me I had to go to get a P3, see a doctor and everything, and that's exactly what I did. Being on a weekend, after I finished everything, is when I went for my family meeting and showed them the evidence and told them I had already filed a case against my husband. They sat me down, said, this is the father of our kids and you cannot send him to jail. I listened to them, but I followed my heart. I said, I'm the only person who can end this, and I cannot continue like this. So I never went back to my house till today.
5 years later.
5 years later. Though I have got, you see, that's how now we separated. Until today, I just go to talk to him when I need something signed, if I'm giving him court cases, or I want him to do something for the kids. That's the only time that we talk. We don't talk about anything else.
No.
5 years down the line, it's really been a lesson to me, whereby with my kids, I want them to get something good in life, and for them not to feel like disadvantaged.
Are there particular rites of passage in your family, in your community, in your religion that you have explored with your children?
Oh, yes. The boys have to get circumcised, and it's usually at an early age. But unfortunately, since I was married to a Christian, I had to follow the Christianity or tradition, whereby when my boy becomes a teenager is when he can be circumcised. But after I separated with my husband, it became my responsibility to make them undergo the knife. So yes, I took them through that passage of circumcision on my own. Yeah.
How many times has your family moved?
My family, my nuclear family, me and my kids. After I used to live in my own house in Kitengela. So when I left, I moved in with a relative. She was really supportive. But again, I realized now when I bring in my children, after they had stayed for like a whole time not going to school, I had to take them back, pick them and then take them to school. I couldn't overburden my sister. My cousin, and I call her my sister because she's really been there for me. I decided to get a small house and move in with my kids. So from there, we stayed for 1.5 months because we used to share a toilet. My son got bilharzia. Things really got tough on me. And I went back to my cousin's place. But I still felt now her being single, and then I give her myself and the burden of 3 other kids. It was really it was very unfair on her. So while I was there, I stayed for 2-3 weeks while I searched for another house. so that we could be able to move. So I managed to get a house and I moved with my kids. This time, because I had a job, but it was not paying that well. I actually got a house that I was paying more rent than my salary. When you have your kids, you want the best thing for your kids. I moved to like 6 more houses to up to where now I am, and we are settled. As much as there's still a lot of struggle, it's been a long journey, but God has been on our side.
How far do you have to travel to see the rest of your extended or immediate family? And how often can you visit each other?
It only takes like an hour or sometimes 45 minutes. Most of my relatives live within Nairobi. It's only my mom who lives outside Nairobi. And then I have an auntie who lives very far. There's one who lives outside the country. She's in Zaire. She's the one who comes. Then we have our eldest auntie who lives in Malindi. And most of the time, it's us who go to visit her. And I am very grateful to God that in a year, I'm able to visit her twice or thrice in a year, which is also very special to me.
And how about the older members within your extended family? How are they cared for? Is there kind of like a cultural way, a family value way? Like how does your family, your immediate family and extended family, treat the older members of the family?
Well, this has come from, it's a generation thing that it's like passed on. I never was able to meet my great-grandfather. God rest his soul in peace. He was a chief. So he was a community, I'd say maybe a community father. He helped everyone. And from the stories that I've heard from my aunties, from my cousins, from even people that I don't know, when you mention the name of my late grandfather, his name was Mwalimu Ali Godoro. Everyone talks good things about him, how he helped them, how he took the girl child to school. Because by then, when our aunties were young, the girl child never was a priority to go to school. He enforced everyone, whether you were a Muslim, a Christian, anyone across our community, and you had a girl child, he emphasized you to take them to school. So it's like a generation thing that has been passed, because our aunties also help each other, the elderly, whether you're an elderly, a relative, a friend. So I think from that culture that we've seen from our relatives, it's what that now we are doing. I was in need. My sisters came and helped me. My friends also came and helped me. And I do the same to other people in the community.
Do you have special memories that you hold dear in your heart about your family?
As I said, my family is big. My extended family, we have a lot of special memories. But the most that are always in my heart is that, it's about religion mostly, basically, because we've intermarried, and most of my relatives are Christian and others are Muslim. We always come together most of the time, and you would never know who is a Christian and who is a Muslim, that we interact and become one, and we all believe in one God. That is always very special to me, that whenever we meet, even people ask, you mean you guys are relatives? I mean, she's a Muslim, she's a Christian. That difference doesn't show in our family. That is one special thing that we have. And I would say it's like the way I said, it's a chain of generation. It's been passed on from our grandfathers to our parents and now to us. And I am really praying that the other generation that is after us will continue with the same thing.